also tell you like how CSS and HTML differ from each other. And then yeah, this is the basic structure of how my HTML program would look like. So like every time when I'm writing an HTML program, I have to make sure that I'm starting my program with doc type HTML, which will like doc time as HTML, which would be my declaration for any kind of HTML page in my like wherever I'm writing my program, whether it is Notepad plus plus or whether it is uh, a Visual Basic Studio. And yeah, so doc type is the header section where I define this is the declaration wherein my page understand that this is an HTML program I'm writing. And HTML is okay, let me just have a pointer. And HTML is mainly it's the root element of any HTML page. And whenever I'm writing HTML, then I have to make sure that I'm like this is just a basic section session class of understanding how we should build our page from root, like from basic. How do we start from scratch of writing any HTML program? So whenever I'm writing my program, I have to make sure that I'm writing HTML, and then I have to make sure also that I'm closing my HTML within angular brackets. So yeah, and title, like title element specifies a title for my HTML page, which is shown in the browser title bar. When while I'll be running, I'll show you. And head section is like this element contains meta information about the HTML page. And for all this headers, what I have to make sure is whenever I'm writing my program that um I'm just closing this tags also while I'm using them. So for example, if I'm using title, I have to make sure that I have a closed title section of my program. Or if I'm using body section, then I have to make sure that I'm closing my body section of the program. And then I'm using P for writing any kind of paragraphs if I want to mention on my web page. And then yeah, and like body section is the main section of my program wherein I'll be writing different stuff. For example, if it is a tag program, or if it is a program to display images. So yeah, all those things would always come in the body section of an HTML program. And then moving ahead, class, this is a very important concept which I would like to cover is domain naming system. So what is a DNS is like DNS always it acts as a phone book for the internet. So like everybody knows that how do we write a program, like I have written my program, like I have developed my own web page, but what is the functionality which happens in the background is like it is done by a domain naming system server, which is a DNS. So what happens in DNS is like if I am searching google.com, so if I'm directly writing www.google.com, so that kind of lookup is called as a forward lookup zone. And if I'm typing in the IP of Google, and then if in result I'm getting the web page name, so that is called as a reverse lookup zone. So always like I'll also tell you how do we do that in like right now. So let me just do it. So like for every web page class, what happens is like there is always an IP address associated with it. There's always an IP address. I'm not sure why I'm not able to open this. So yeah, so for every web page class, there is always, and be it anything, be it google.com, be it Learnovate, for any kind of web pages or any kind of website, we always have an IP address associated with it. For example, like computer will not understand like what is Google, what is the word Google. So to make them understand, we use this concept which is called as a DNS. So for example, let me just search Learnovate, okay, and then we'll see like how do we. So for example, if I just yeah, so like this is the web address, okay. So what I will do is I'll just copy this web address, and then I'll open my command prompt. I'll search run and then command cmd. After opening cmd, what I'll do is like I'll file an ns lookup command which will resolve my DNS query. Like this command is mainly used to resolve our queries in command prompt. So if I'm typing ns lookup and then I'm typing this www.learnovate.ecommerce.com, okay. So let's just see the result. So like what I got in response is like this is my like the first response which I got for server and IP address, like this is my private IP address which I'm just connected to. So for example, if you could see, like I'm connected to D-Link right now. So this is what my connection name is, and this is the address of my connection. So like what I was trying to look up was for learnovateecommerce.com. So in response, what I got was 68.183.233.96. So this is in range of this is the IP address range for this particular Learnovate website. So, like as I told you, like for every web page, like we have to do a forward lookup zone and a reverse lookup zone. So this is when I performed this like ns lookup learnovateecommerce.com. So this was my forward lookup. Okay, and then if I'm typing, I'll just copy this IP address. I'll just copy this and I'll type ns lookup, and then I'll just see. So like if you could see, like if I was trying to see, after doing reverse lookup also I was getting a response for the host name of this particular web page. So similarly you could try this kind of concepts, like it was very important, so I thought of covering it. And also, like if I'll try to ping this particular IP address which is of learnovateecommerce.com, and let's just see what is the response. So if I'm trying to ping this particular IP address, I'm getting TTL packets responses from the web. Anybody is aware of what TTL is? Class, anybody is aware of TTL and NS lookup? Yes, no.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So class, mainly TTL are time to live packets which in response will get if I'm trying to ping any kind of website. For example, even if I try to ping google.com or any such website, the response which I'll get is in the form of TTL packets, time to live packets, which will show that my particular website is up and running. So for example, if I'll try to ping any type of website, and if I'm not getting any reply, so like how do we get to know that particular website is up and running? So if I'm getting TTL responses, that means my particular web page is up and running. So this is what we can assume. And also, like let's just see. So yeah, if anybody who is not able to do, like if there is any kind of differences, like if I'm able to ping, if you're not able to ping, then we always have to fire this commands, which is ip config /1/all, and then we have to check our configurations, and then if there's any differing which is happening, so that would be the reason why we're not able to connect to that particular web page. And always we have to make sure that we're firing these commands with admin credentials to get responses. Is this DNS concept clear to everyone? Like this DNS concept is like what happens in background if you're trying to find out like what is the IP address of my web application, or what is my host name, or how do we resolve IP to host name. Yeah, so let's just move ahead of DNS. So this is what class which I was covering, which was like forward lookup zone and reverse lookup zone, and the command was ns lookup followed by the website name or followed by the IP address, depending on which kind of resolution you want to do. Yeah. So next topic is CSS. So CSS is like CSS stands for cascading style sheets, and like CSS is mainly used for designing our web pages, mainly to make our display more attractive. And also CSS is used to define style for our web pages, including the design layout variations in display for different devices and screen sizes. So if we would want to compare like what is the difference between HTML and CSS is, so HTML is just the structure of your particular web page, as in I showed you. Like this is just my particular structure which I have created, and with like if I just run this program also, like what would come, this is a heading, this is a paragraph with no font, with no color, nothing. So if I want to add like designing, if I have to give designing to my web structure, so in that case we would be using CSS, cascading style sheets. And in CSS, like we can just have a comparison of this particular image, like it's just a normal human figure without any designing or without any um without any presentation to it. But if we add like effects, or if we add graphics, or if we add designing to our web page, just so that would be CSS. And then let's just move ahead with the CSS syntax part. So every time, like while we are using CSS in our program, so this would be my um, a syntax for it. So every time I'm using CSS, I have to make sure that I'm defining a selector. And then inside my selector, like if I want to describe the properties for my CSS, I have to make sure that I'm using in curly braces, wherein I'll define my property and a value to my property. So property would be color or alignment. Alignment can be middle, right, left, or anything. So we always have to make sure that we are defining, like we are using a property, and we are giving our property a particular value. So here in my case, I am defining property as color, and my value is blue. And the second property which I'm defining is font size, and the value which I've given is 12 px. And also, like if I want to use two or more declarations, then in that case I have to make sure that I'm using a semicolon in between my declarations. And there should always be a colon used to segregate the property and the value. So yeah, the selector points to the HTML element you want to style, and the declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolons. And then each declaration includes the CSS property name and a value separated by a column. And then yeah, multiple CSS declarations are separated with semicolons and declaration blocks as surrounded by curly braces. As I told you, like every time we are using CSS, we have to make sure that those are in curly braces, and multiple declarations should have a semicolon in between. I guess it came twice from top. I'll just show you an example also when I'm just doing CSS programs. And then the next tag which I want to discuss with all of you is like table tags. So like what is a table? So a table is a like it's a collection of rows and columns. So whenever I want to use, or I want to make a table in my HTML page, so what I have to use is like table. This particular syntax is there, like table defined within angular brackets. And then like for table row I have to use tr tag. For table header I have to use th tag, and for table data elements I have to use td tag. Okay, I'll just show you, like these are just basics which I wanted to cover before we move ahead. So yeah. And then like the next topic is HTML forms. So whenever I'm using Flipkart, or if I'm using Mintra. So in that case, I'll be seeing multiple input boxes. There will be multiple images. There would be a lot of labels used. So like to make that kind of things, we have to use HTML forms, form tag. So like if I want to use text box, so I have, like if I want to make a text box on my web page, or if I want to make a submit button, radio button, check boxes, so that would be done by our HTML forms. So I'll tell you. So the first element for an HTML form is the input element. So for example, if I want to make a page with text boxes, radio buttons, check boxes, all these things, so what I have to write is input type is equal to text. So what that would make is like display a single line text field. If I'm writing as input type is equal to radio, then that is a displays a radio button. And then if it is a input type is equal to checkbox, then that would display a checkbox. In like similarly, like our input type can be anything, like as we see in multiple web pages, like how there would be, like if we are filling any kind of forms or any kind of survey, so there would be, like we would see like there are text buttons, radio buttons, check boxes, submit buttons, and then all those stuff. So those are nothing but HTML form elements. Okay, and then let's just see what, and this is the syntax for how do we use text field. So input type would be text, and then this is just a label element. Label is like there won't be any action on label, but it is just a display purpose. It will be just for displaying purpose. For example, like there would be name, and there would be a text box. So like for that particular name purposes or for display purposes, we are using here label. And as I told you, class, it is just as simple to use, but we just have to make sure the names, like input type would be text for a text button, input type would be radio for radio button, input type would be checkbox for checkbox. Okay, if you want to include like multiple choices for that. So yeah, similarly as I told you, like input type would be radio for radio buttons, and then you can just include all those things in your program. Moving ahead, I don't know, I had a tidy day today, so that's why. Yeah, checkboxes is like so if I want to include multiple options like in my web page, so in that case I'll be using checkbox. As I told you, like here input type would be checkbox, and then displays a checkbox for selecting zero or many choices. And then submit button, like if I want to submit all my responses in my particular web page, so for that submit buttons. And then if we want such kind of to upload any kind of document in my particular web page, for example, if you're filling any kind of application form, so there would be a button called upload file. So in that case I'll be using input type is equal to file. Okay, I hope all these form elements are clear, class, to everyone. This was just an easy concept which I covered today. Any doubts in any of these elements, class, or any of the concepts which I covered before the lab sessions? Okay, so let's just move to the first program. Like I'll just show you how do we use form elements. So class, as I told you, like everything would be same, like doc type HTML we have to define, then HTML body, and then we have to write our headers. So let's just change our header as form elements example. Yeah, so as I told you, like label would be for giving my input type a name. So for that I'll be using label, and this is just a simple program, class. I'm just writing in the body section of my program all these things. Okay, and then input type is equal to text. I have given for first name. For last name I have given again a text box, and then I'm after giving first name and last name, what I'm doing is I'm just declaring an input time file, and then I'm just clicking on submit thing. Let me just run this program. Yeah, so if you could see, like this was my label element first name, this is the second label element which I declared, and these are the two text fields. And like as I told you, to upload any kind of files, if we see this particular thing in any kind of application form, so this is nothing this is nothing but it is a file type form element. So I can just choose any kind of file type here and then upload. Just select from downloads. So if you could just see, you can just see your file types, and then you can click on submit button depending on the type of program you have written. So yeah, this is how my display would look like for first name, last name, and then all those stuff. Let's just move to, okay, let's just write a program for how to use images in my program. I'll just copy this stuff because my angular braces are not does not work in the first go. So yeah, Okay, so for this, like this is a program to display an image on an HTML on a website. So for this, I have to make sure that I have images in the same folder where I'm running the program. So my image name is diit.jpg. Okay, and then here, okay, wherein I'm mentioning height, which would be, let's take 200, and width. See, and always when we are saving any like any of our HTML programs, we have to make sure that we are saving it with .html. So yeah, we have to, like, okay, so as I told you, like we have to make sure that particular image is always existing on the same page wherein my program is existing. So if I just paste the image here, I'll be able to run the program. Yeah, is like src tag is mainly classes. It is used to add an image to your program. So that's why we use this src attribute. And then in the same code, let me just add a link. So let's, okay. So class A tag defines the hyperlink, and href attribute specifies the URL. Okay, so make sure that you remember this. And then I'm just refreshing it, and then let's just open it again. Okay, the reason why it was not executing was I did not close the A tag. Okay, slash A. I hope the website is proper. Let's just add another URL and see. Okay, so here my link was appearing. So if I click on the link, I should be able to open that particular web page. So because this is my office laptop, I'm not able to open that particular page using this. Let me try. So how to add hyperlink class, is this clear? Like herein we are using a tag which is defining my hyperlink, and href will define the URL. Okay. Class is just evening. Everyone, please do not sleep. Respond. It is difficult.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So moving ahead, let me just see what all programs I have. So I covered. So yeah, let me just open this table. So class, like if you want to create any kind of tables, okay, so like I have to use table tag in that case, and I have to write all those things in the body section of my program. So table is what is my row, tr is my table row tag, th is my table header, the headers which I'm giving to my tag, and then the data which I'm filling to all those particular fields. Okay, these are just genuine ones, I don't know. So yeah, if you could see the output, this was my table header, and these are my table datas which I have filled in my program. Anything else I could cover? Images covered, css is covered. Okay, we can see this one. Yeah, so like this program is for like form element checkboxes. So like how do we include this in my program? So for this I have to write input type is equal to checkboxes, as I told you, and this is the label value which I've given to my checkbox. Okay, and then again I have included second input type which is checkbox, and then the label value which I've given is car. So let's just run this, and then I have used the third form element which is submit. Yeah, class, so if you could just see, this was the checkbox element, form checkbox element. Any doubts, class, in any of the form elements I've covered, or any of the concepts? Okay. Any doubts in DNS?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So class, like you'll get your assignments from your particular team leads, and also in case if you have any doubts on um, on web development, or any doubts on the topic which I've covered today, or any doubts on cloud and infrastructure, then you can always reach out to me. I'll be happy to assist you.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Have a very nice evening, everyone. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.